Hi everyone, I'm Yael. Welcome to my channel. Get comfy, grab your favorite drink, and let's slip into something a little strange. Here on Yael Tales, I share stories that blur the line between real and unreal. So lean in close, take a deep breath, and let's begin. Her name was Mariana. We met when we were 10, and from that moment on, she was stitched into my life like a second shadow. We had our fights, our silences, our messy phases, but she was always there, until she wasn't. Mariana died on a Tuesday, that much is certain. What's not certain is why my phone rang 12 minutes after the time they said she was gone. The day started like 100 others. Rain tapping the windows, coffee slightly burned. I was scrolling through emails when the text came in from her sister. "Call me when you can." I knew. My chest hollowed before I even hit the call button. Her sister answered, crying. The words were blunt. Aneurysm, sudden, no pain, already gone. I sat in my kitchen holding the phone, like it had stopped being part of this world, like it was too clean to carry something that cruel. I didn't move for a long time. Hours, maybe. I remember rain turning to drizzle. My mug went cold. I finally stood and started putting things away just to do something, anything. At 3:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. Missed call, Mariana. I froze. I stared at it like it had to be a mistake, an old notification, some delayed alert, but no, it was new, time-stamped, real. I tapped into my voicemail, one new message. She sounded out of breath. "Hey, it's me. I don't know where I am. Something's wrong. I tried." Static. Then, softer. "If you get this, don't come looking." End of message. That was it. I played it 5 times. Tried to convince myself it was a prank, a glitch, something scheduled, something automated. But Mariana never used scheduled messages. She barely texted me without typos. This wasn't her being cute or cryptic. Her voice, there was fear in it, real fear. I checked the timestamp again. 3:41 p.m. Her time of death, according to the hospital record, was 3:29. I called her number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I listened to her old, outgoing message just to hear her voice steady and normal. I didn't leave one of my own. I didn't know what to say. The next morning, the voicemail was gone. Not in my inbox, not in deleted, just gone, like it had never existed. I called the phone company. They said there was no record of a voicemail being left that day. I asked if a call from her number to mine was logged. They checked. Nothing. I didn't tell them she was dead. I didn't tell anyone. Not her family. Not my boyfriend. Not even the grief counselor I forced myself to see a week later. I kept it like a secret seed in my chest, waiting to either bloom or rot. 2 weeks after the funeral, I got a package. No return address. No postage. Just sitting on my welcome mat in brown paper and twine. Inside was her bracelet, the silver one she wore every day, the one the hospital told her sister they never found. Thunder it, anew. Typed, no signature. He left something unfinished. I didn't sleep the night the bracelet arrived. I held it in my hand for hours, turning it over and over, half expecting it to be warm, like it remembered her skin. But it was cold, just silver, just metal. And still, it felt like Mariana. The note was typed on plain white paper, the font generic, printer ink slightly smudged, like it had been handled more than once. There were no fingerprints. I checked. I kept the note. I kept the bracelet. I didn't tell anyone. The next morning, I walked through my apartment like it was someone else's life. I made coffee, fed the cat, brushed my teeth twice. My phone stayed in my pocket, screen untouched. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want another message. But by noon, I couldn't help myself. I opened Mariana's old chat thread. Still there. All the memes, all the bad selfies. The last real message she'd sent me was a week before she died. A blurry picture of a fortune cookie that read, "Nothing is ever truly lost." At 1:17 p.m., a new message appeared. Not a text. A voice message. From her number. It played without me pressing play. "You have to find it," her voice said, urgent, breathy. "You have to finish it. I can't." Then static. Then silence. I dropped the phone. My legs felt weak. I sat down on the kitchen floor and stared at the cabinets like they had answers. The message was still on screen. I tapped it. Nothing. I tapped again. Gone. No record, no notification, not even in the app history. I should have felt fear. I should have called someone, but I didn't. I didn't feel crazy. I felt called. That night, I went to Mariana's old apartment. Her sister hadn't cleared it out yet. She gave me the spare key days after the funeral, said I could take anything I wanted. I hadn't gone until now. The place smelled like her, sandalwood and cheap incense. The couch still had her old throw blanket. Her shoes were still lined up by the door. I wandered to her bedroom. It looked untouched, neat. The bed made, her journal on the nightstand. I sat and opened it. Most pages were normal. Grocery lists, quotes, complaints about her job. But the last 5 entries were strange, short, disconnected. Everything is circling. Voices and sleep again. Too many doors. They won't let me forget. And finally, if I disappear, follow the sound. I closed the book. There was something beneath the mattress. A cassette tape, labeled in red ink, for her. I stared at it for a long time before taking it home. It took me 2 days to find a tape player. A dusty one in a thrift store with a cracked speaker and a sticker of a cartoon ghost. When I finally played the tape, there was no introduction. No music, just Mariana's voice. If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it out. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. I thought it was dreams. Then I thought it was stress. But now, I think it's real. There's a place that follows me. A sound, it's always just behind. When I turn, it disappears, but I feel it. It's cold and close and constant. Amy told me not to talk about it, that it would make things worse, that I'd draw them closer. But silence isn't helping anymore. I'm leaving this, not because I want you involved, but because I don't want to vanish. If I go missing, or if something about my death doesn't make sense, go to the lake, the one we used to visit in fall, the old dock. You'll know when you're close. Bring the bracelet, and don't come alone. The tape clicked off. I sat there, hands shaking. The player gave a soft whir as it stopped. I rewound it, played it again. Then again. I didn't cry. Not yet. But I did pack a bag. The next morning, I drove to the lake. I hadn't been to the lake in over 5 years. Not since Mariana and I drove out one October afternoon, armed with blankets and cheap wine, and watched the fog roll over the water like it was trying to keep secrets. She loved it here, said it felt like a place between places. I thought she was just being poetic. Now, I wasn't so sure. I parked near the old gravel loop where the trees bent close together, making it feel like you were being watched even when you weren't. Everything looked the same. The mossy welcome sign, the cracked picnic table, the dock stretching out into the dark water like a finger daring you to follow. I stepped out with the bracelet in my coat pocket. The air was damp and heavy. Late afternoon light filtered through the branches in thin gold lines. The only sound was wind through the leaves and the slow, dragging creak of the dock as it moved with the water. I walked out onto the dock. Planks groaned under my boots. The wood felt softer than I remembered, swollen with years of rain. I reached the end and stood there for a long time, staring at the ripples, waiting for something. A feeling, a voice, a message. But the lake just breathed. I pulled the bracelet from my pocket. It shimmered faintly, catching what little sun remained. I closed my fist around it and whispered, "I'm here." Nothing happened. Then, behind me, the soft crunch of footsteps. I turned fast. No one. The dock was empty, but the sound had been real. I stayed another hour, walked the trail around the lake, called out her name once, softly, feeling foolish. When the sun dropped low and the chill started biting through my jacket, I gave up. Maybe it was all some elaborate breakdown. Maybe the grief had cracked something I didn't realize was fragile. I drove back to my apartment in silence, no music, just road and wind and the constant whisper of doubt. That night, I dreamed of the lake. Not peaceful, not poetic. In the dream, I stood on the dock, bracelet in hand, and the water below me opened up like a mouth, black and endless. I heard her voice calling from underneath. "I'm not gone." I woke up gasping. The tape was playing. I hadn't touched it. The player was closed, the cassette inside, spinning. The same message played, but the words were different. "They may have found me. I shouldn't have said this. Don't come back. Don't bring it again." The voice cut off in a burst of static. I ejected the tape. It was warped, bent at the edge, like it had been melted. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I went back to Mariana's apartment. I hadn't planned to. My body just moved that way, like it knew something I didn't. The door was still unlocked from before. The light inside felt dimmer, the air colder. Her journal was gone. So was the cassette player. I stood in the living room, staring at the shelf where the player had been, when I heard it again. Laughter. Childlike, soft, from the hallway. I walked slowly toward the sound. The hallway light flickered once, then held steady. Nothing there. But on the floor, near the bathroom door, was a second note, typed, just like the first. "You brought it back. Now they can follow." That night, I stayed at a hotel. Small place, off the highway, barely 2 stars. I didn't trust my apartment anymore. I didn't trust the shadows or the quiet, or the feeling that if I stayed still long enough, I'd hear her voice again. I dreamed again. This time, Mariana was standing at the edge of the dock, soaking wet, eyes wide, lips moving but no sound. Behind her, the trees bent toward the water like they were listening. I reached out to her, but my arm wouldn't move. Something held it back, something cold. I woke up crying. The bracelet was around my wrist, related to my pain. I had left it on the nightstand. I yanked it off and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and landed with a soft thud on the carpet. By afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove back to the lake. This time, I didn't bring anything. No bracelet, no tape, no bag. Just me. The dog waited, still and silent. I walked to the edge again. The water was blacker than before, thicker. I couldn't see the bottom. I called her name. No response. Then, just as I turned to leave, I heard her voice behind me. "You shouldn't have come alone." I turned. She was there. Not a memory, not a dream. Mariana, standing on the dock, barefoot, soaked, eyes wide. "It's not done," she said. "You have to close it." "What is it?" I asked. She looked past me, toward the trees. "They're coming." I ran. Didn't stop until I was back at my car. Didn't look back. Drove straight home and locked every door. That was 2 days ago. I haven't slept since. Last night there was a knock at my door, soft, 3 times. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there, but taped to the door was a new note. You were the last one she spoke to, that's why it's yours now. No signature, no explanation. Just that. And the bracelet was on my doormat, waiting. I stared at the bracelet on my doormat for a long time. I didn't touch it. I left it there while I sat inside with every light on, wrapped in the kind of fear that doesn't move, doesn't blink, just watches. The note echoed in my head like a chant. You were the last one she spoke to. That's why it's yours now. Mine. Like this was a passing of weight, of curse, of unfinished business wrapped in silver and tied to a voice that should be silent. By morning, the bracelet was gone. No one came to the door, no messages, no calls, just absence, sharp and loud. That should have been the end. I should have taken it as closure or mercy or whatever scraps the unknown occasionally offers the living. But instead, I drove back to the lake. One more time. The clouds were low, everything looked colorless, even the trees seemed drained, as if they'd finally tired of watching me repeat this loop. The water was still, not calm, just waiting. I walked out onto the dock with slow, measured steps. I had nothing with me. No bracelet, no tape, not even my phone, just a lighter in my pocket and a folded piece of paper in my hand. The final note. I stood at the edge. The wind barely moved. No birds, no sounds, just the lapping of the lake against the palings and the echo of a memory I hadn't made yet. I lit the note. It curled in on itself as it burned, ashes falling into the water like black snow. I said her name once. Not loud, not afraid, just human. Mariana. The water shifted. Not a wave, not a splash, just a rise, as if something breathed underneath. And then I saw her, standing at the tree line, watching. She didn't move, just stared. Eyes dark, hair wet, the same as before but more solid, more anchored. I turned to face her fully. What do? I asked. She lifted her hand, not in greeting, in pointing, back toward the dock. I turned. There was something on the wood behind me, something I hadn't seen. A box, small, weathered, the kind people used to keep letters in. I picked it up. Inside, a bundle of cassette tapes. Dozens, all labeled, all with names, and one empty slot, with my name on it. I looked up. She was gone. The trees were still. I don't remember driving home, but I remember what I did when I got there. I recorded a message. On tape, I sat in silence for a long time, then pressed record and spoke like someone might be listening far away. Or far below. I told the truth. Everything. From the first call to the bracelet to the lake to her voice in my dreams. Then I said goodbye, and I sealed the tape, and I drove it back to the lake. That night, I left the box where I found it, with my tape inside. I haven't been back since. No more notes, no more dreams. But sometimes, when I'm walking near water, any water, I think I hear laughter, not loud, just enough, and I wonder how many others have received that call, and if the dock ever runs out of names. If you enjoyed the story, like, comment, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves a little mystery. I'll be right here waiting with another tale very soon. Take care and see you next time.